All right. So here's the thing. You guys have just, we talk about business as your spiritual practice. Do you understand what that really means when we say that? And the reason that we say that, and I want to explain that, is because to me, what I believe a spiritual practice is learning to be present with the truth when you're in reaction. Okay? So something happens, and when we react, remember, Course in Miracles tells us there's only two experiences, love or fear, and that only love is real. So when we're in business, things happen that we react to a lot, more than anywhere else. Because see, in a job, you can coast a little bit. It may not be joyful, it may not be great, but it's not pushing your buttons to the degree that business is. Business pushes buttons. Would you all agree? Yeah. Okay? And it's never going to stop, and it's going to keep pushing buttons, and it's going to push buttons harder and stronger and more often than any other asset of life.
And it matters most and more because you're the bottom line.
That's right.
You either make it or you don't. You know, you don't have, a boss to, a big corporation. They're responsible, right? I mean, you might have a certain role within that capacity, but, I mean, if it's your business, the buck stops here, baby.
That's right.
So you either make it or you don't. And so that pressure can be overwhelming sometimes.
Very well said, very well said. And that's the whole point of being an entrepreneur on a spiritual plane, is it puts you have to take total responsibility for who you're being and the choices you make, regardless of circumstances. And that is the pressure cooker you feel, is because you don't know how to do that. Who's ever taught you how to do that? All right? So using business as a spiritual practice means learning to come to a truth. And the truth is that you are on a path that God has destined for you, and therefore there is no reason for angst, worry, or concern. Plain and simple. Now, that being said is true on a spiritual level. On a worldly level, it's a bunch of bullshit. Okay?
I mean, some of you experienced angst and pressure just getting here,
That's
right?
right.
I mean, just
That's right.
already this morning,
Okay.
you might have experienced that.
So we have these two things going on in us. We have the truth, which we get, but then we also live in a world that we have to operate in and perform in, okay? So what we're wanting to do as business owners, the difference between having what you want and where you're at now is what's going on right here. And this is the spiritual side, right? And what's going on right here, the spiritual side. Then there's what's going on in the way of systems, habits, communication, skills over here. And here's the thing. Yes, you have to have these things. But if you fall short of these things and you're in action and you are really spending more time over here, the universe or God will create things to take up for the shortcomings of skills. Did everyone get what I just said there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you have a series of skills that you have to execute.
Like the worldly plane.
The worldly plane. So you have to learn how to do strategy sessions. You have to get strategy sessions. You have to convert them. Okay. So in that's in the world. That is a skill set that can take a long time to learn. Okay. Or at least a focus to learn. Okay. Over here you have this practice, mindfulness, stillness, prayer, meditation, whatever your practice is. But more than anything, the spiritual world. But what it really is learning how to bring the spiritual world of faith, belief, and surrender over here. Because when you do that, the shortcomings of skills will be offset by the miracles of the universe. Make sense? Okay? So that is why we want to talk to you about being miracle workers and trusting. Because the moment you start to get in reaction mode, is this going to work? Oh my God, I think I should change my mind. I'm going to quit. I got to change my niche. You're not open to miracles. You shut and cut miracles off. All right? Make sense? Okay? So that's why we want you guys to focus on both. But the thing is, you work on letting go of the angst and the worry of doing it right, the worry and angst of getting it all done correctly, but staying in action of these things. Make sense? And then being able to stay in action without going up and down in the roller coasters of emotions. Okay? So why we say celebrate success, it's because you want to get that physiology in your body, But you really don't make a big deal out of success, and we don't make a big deal out of failure because they're a worldly plane thing. We make a big deal out of connection, God, love, compassion for yourself. Okay? So that's what we want you to spend your time on. So start to notice, am I spinning my wheels in reaction and emotion when I should be compassionate and trusting the universe that everything's going to unfold the way it should? What is my next right action? And in stillness, you'll know. You'll know. All right?
And business as your spiritual practice, what we mean about that is like nothing is going to grow you faster than business, than entrepreneurship. That's been our experience, right? How many of you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Like you have to skill up in order to just survive, in order to stay in business, you know? And so those very skills that you need in order to create a successful, thriving business, when you see that as your spiritual practice, you become a better human being, right? Which is like what we're all here to do, right? Which is, you know, what God wants for all of us is like to realize our potential. You know, with all the books, all the seminars, everything that both Mark and I have done, nothing has grown us faster than entrepreneurship, you know, because you either learn a skill, you get better as being a leader, you improve your communication skills, you know, which requires you leaning on your spiritual practices and trust and faith and tapping in, or you don't. And then you get a job, which was never really an option for us, you know?